Chapter 9, September, Dominant Ninth. September 1st. Growing up with my dad being a musician, it seemed like a male-centric world to me. I just didn't know many girls playing guitar, Lola Kirk. I'm sure it did feel like that at times, especially in the early to mid-1900s. However, I wonder if there were and are currently more girls playing guitar than we all see and hear about, yet they're not getting publicized as much as the men did or do. Nowadays, we all know there are many women who make up bands, are the front women for the band they're in, and play guitar. We can see it on social media, on the news, on covers of magazines and records. It could be in the same realm as school shootings and violence in that these may have always been there, but weren't getting the publicity they are now due to the plethora of social media channels and mainstream news outlets. There are many more companies who have investigative reporting and field journalism as part of their daily activities. Not to mention the police force working alongside several law enforcement agencies and the media altogether to make all these terrible events more well known to the average person. I know this might seem like a strange analogy to make, but there could be kernels of truth in it. At the very least, it's interesting food for thought. September 2nd. I can't stand loud guitars that make me deaf. Nina Simone. I agree, Nina. Loud guitars that make your ears ring during and after a band practice, local show, or arena concert are no good. For one, it's hard to fall asleep when you have ringing that loud in your ears. Ringing so loud that muffles and even cancels out the sound of the natural world. And two, it's not good for long-term hearing as your ears and brain can only take so much beating and loudness over time. At some point, the body's going to say, stop it, and rebel against itself. There's no reason to crank an amplifier up to 10 and play hard and loud just for the sake of playing hard and loud. You can play hard and still make a loud sound with an amp at 5 or even an acoustic guitar. Not only will your ears thank you later, but everyone else present during these jam sessions, live performances will do the same. I don't know about you, but I want to have meaningful conversations at every age of life, not just limited to my youth. September 3rd, Rick Rubin said, well, I don't know that we will sell records. He said, I would like you to go with me and sit in my living room with a guitar and 2 microphones and just sing to your heart's content everything you ever wanted to record. I said, that sounds good to me. So I did that. And day after day, 3 weeks, I sang for him, Johnny Cash. I love this. I feel like this ought to be the exact approach anyone who writes music takes as far as recording songs goes. All it takes is a humble setup, the human voice, and a guitar to capture true essence of any song. No fancy bells and whistles, no synthesizers, no auto-tune, no 40-piece orchestra. Just keep it simple. From a producer and engineer's perspective, it's a lot easier to produce and mix, master, edit after the fact. From a songwriter and musician's perspective, it's a lot easier to record as you're only worrying about one singing and playing in one take. This is the core of any good song. Can it stand on its own without anything to hide behind? If the foundation of a song is strong, not a lot is required to record it. For many years, this was the only way to record anyway, in a live fashion with one instrument, one voice. Plus, let's not forget that Johnny Cash is an iconic legend who already put out a large catalog of music before this point, so there was nothing else for him to prove to anyone. The idea here is for Johnny to have fun, let loose, and remember what it was like to make music for the simple joy of making music and not trying to please or appease it to anyone. Rick Rubin is a genius for encouraging Johnny to record songs in this way, and Johnny is a humble genius for being open to the suggestion and really going for it. September 4th. Young people are still experiencing the thrill of 3 chords and over-amplified guitars. They always will. Horace Panter. I wouldn't just limit this to young people, as people of all ages still experience the thrill of 3 chords and over-amplified guitars, but I digress. There's genius and beauty and simplicity as it allows the performer as well as the listener to better enjoy the musical experience. The performer doesn't have to remember as much, so the ability to rock out, mess around with head banging and moving your body, as well as interact with the crowd, increases. The listener has a way easier time of being able to decipher what is going on musically because they don't have to process as much either. If it's the same 3 chords being played in the same exact order for the duration of a song, the listener can really settle into the audio experience. After a while, the listener could even become a bit bored if nothing changes in the musical performance as far as the order of chords goes. This is where the performer can strut their stuff, changing the order of chords, changing the tempo or style of how those chords are played to give it a little bit of spice to further engage the listener. In addition to all this, when guitars are cranked up real loud, aka over-amplified, there was no room to really think about anything else in that given moment. The attention turns entirely to the performance of said loud chords, exactly where the performer wants to live. Then they know with 100% certainty that they have fully captured the audience. September 5th, from the age of 16 on, I brought my guitar everywhere. I just fell in love with learning the guitar, and I wanted to learn songs and chords, and that led me to want to start a band and wanting to do our first show, Donovan Frankenreiter. I love to hear this kind of thing. This is the exact age I started playing guitar, so this quote really resonates with me. And I did the same thing. I lived and breathed the guitar. I couldn't wait to get home from school to jam for hours on end, practicing scales, riffs, chords, and then full-length songs. Within a year of starting to play the guitar, I was already writing my own songs using the guitar as the main instrument and playing cover and original songs with a couple of friends in my first band. It was a turning point in my life and also my professional career, although I didn't know it at the time. Up until that age, all I did outside of school was sports. It was baseball, basketball, and soccer, with soccer being the top one. And then music began to take more of my time, energy, and focus. Soccer was still important to me, but not as important as music. I was living a dual life of pursuing soccer through college at a Division I school, getting semi-professional and overseas opportunities, while at the same time playing open mic nights, shows, concerts, writing, and releasing original material. So a decision had to be made, and I chose the guitar and music to lead the way from the age of 21 on. This enabled me to focus most of my time, energy, and focus on writing, performing, recording, marketing, promoting, and really all things music through the guitar as the main instrument. From here, things really started to blossom, and I jumped from instrument to instrument, learning ukulele, drums, percussion, piano, bass, harmonica, kazoo, 2 bands, several albums later, creating my own unique brand of playing and writing. Volunteering in a group home for adults with developmental disabilities sparked a new calling with music, and I created 2 music programs at 2 non-profit organizations from scratch, moving on to starting my own company, providing sessions, lessons, assemblies, and interactive performances for and with so many different groups of people in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Illinois, and Florida. In the end, all good things come from being open to a new opportunity and really devoting yourself to it. September 6th, I play the living hell out of my guitars daily and assure, as the sun rises in the east, killer licks, ideas, grooves, patterns, and songs erupt every time. Ted Nugent. That's the way to do it, Ted. Start playing from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed each and every day. By doing this, you ensure that you will get a ton of usage out of your guitar and that ideas will be flowing for you nonstop. Essentially, when you put yourself into a position to succeed, good things will happen for you. This is not just the case for guitar playing, but for anything in life. If you want to be a professional baseball player, get out there every day and work on the crafts of hitting, pitching, throwing, catching, base running, and learning all the nuances and rules of the game. If you want to be an unstoppable lawyer, get out there and study all the new laws, policies, and procedures of your given field in law. Sit in on as many proceedings as you can. Learn by watching film and case studies. At some point, it will be second nature. You won't even have to think about waking up early or putting the time in the batting cage or film room. It will just happen because it will inevitably become your routine since you've created those good habits every day. September 7th. To tell you the truth, I've never been really good at learning other people's stuff. I've been playing since I was 11, and I never took lessons. I kind of learned through hit and miss. I had the patience just because I love guitar so much. Mark Tremonti. It is completely fine to not be so great at learning other people's stuff. Why? Because you are creating your own style and creating your own material at that point. This is what more of what we ought to be doing anyway as guitarists and musicians for that matter. To Mark's second point, I learned through a lot of trial and error as well. Having patience with yourself is a key ingredient to long-term success because when you first start playing, you're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. Some days I still make mistakes when playing. I miss a note in a solo by accident, or I play the wrong chord in the wrong spot. The difference now is that after playing for many years, I don't beat myself up over it. I just say, I'm not perfect, I'm human, I'm going to make mistakes, and this is okay. As long as I try my best, I know I am doing my part in continuing the craft of guitar playing and songwriting in a positive direction. Also, I still don't know how to read music and prefer it this way. And not knowing how to read music, the theoretical, technical side of music has never timed me down into thinking, can I play that chord here? The answer has always been yes, because I go by what sounds good to my ears and not what is technically, theoretically right. This has helped me be able to work with a lot of people because I don't judge anyone for playing a wrong note or chord. It's allowed me to be more free when writing and performing, provides me with ample opportunities for improvisation. September 8th, my dad brings a deep-seated knowledge of the British folk genre, and a lot of my love for guitar playing comes from learning from him and his influences, which eventually became my influences. Joel Plaskett. Very cool, Joel. It's awesome that you took so much influence from your father and his love of various songwriters and artists in the British folk genre. What this tells me is that you had a really good relationship with your father, saw him as a role model, and wanted to be and do things just like him. To me, this is the best compliment one can give to a parental figure, or anyone. I hope my son feels the same way about me. There's always something to learn from any kind of experience or situation you may find yourself in throughout life. The fact that you learn so much musically and on the guitar is something really special, not soon to be forgotten. Always hold on to it, as it's something you can fall back on very easily when times get tough, and they will get tough at some point. September 9th. Americans have been good at improvising for a long time, but in the last few decades, we've gotten very sloppy about the rote memorization of facts. That's a discipline issue. You need the rote skill in order to have something to improvise off of. Otherwise, you are simply playing air guitar. John Medina. Wow, I absolutely love this quote. It hits the nail right on the head, and it hits home quite hard. In order to be truly creative, innovative, and on the cutting edge of something, there needs to be a basic foundation of whatever area you are studying or doing. By having a working knowledge of a particular area, this will allow you to go off on tangents, thinking of how you can make something more efficient, effective, or create something brand new that many people can benefit from through that working knowledge, ingenuity, and the use of resources. Otherwise, you're just randomly creating something that you might not technically work because of a part you might need to buy, insert, or create, or because there isn't a specific need for that thing to exist. The sad and scary part of this discipline issue is that by lowering our guard and not taking things as seriously as we used to as a country, it has allowed other countries to become more powerful and us less powerful. We need to step our game up and focus on always learning, improving, and becoming better versions of ourselves. If not, we will most certainly get left behind, passed by, or forgotten about as a force to be reckoned with. September 10th. I use music as a tool for my own personal sanity, one might say. After a long day or something, I can always come home and sit down and play a song or write a song, just relax and kind of space out with my guitar. Michael Grazadi. I feel you, Michael. Music has been a saving grace and therapeutic outlet for me over the years as well. Writing songs has given me opportunities to make sense of the world around me and deal with it in a constructive, positive manner. It allows me to express myself creatively and turn whatever seemingly negative situations or experiences that have happened in life into a force for good. When I first started playing guitar, I would play for 3 hours at a time and not realize that 3 hours actually passed. Time didn't just stand still, it completely disappeared from me. It was like I was in some sort of a time warp where it didn't exist at all, and I became one with the instrument, whatever scale, chord, progression, riff, or song I was playing. There was a visceral feeling and immediate satisfaction you get when playing the guitar as you're placing your fingers on various parts of a wooden neck to press down copper strings, creating beauty through the physical performance of this wonderful string instrument. So play to your heart's desire and continue doing so until your body and mind stop you. It will sustain you and resonate with you during and after. September 11th. I love playing rock music, man. You give me a guitar in my hands and I go out there, and for me it's like, some dudes like hunting, fishing, going out and playing ball in the backyard with their buddies on a rainy day. I like being out with my buddies playing rock guitar. That's what I love to do. Robbie Takak. So do I, Robbie. So do I. I loved and still love playing the guitar as a hobby, and then as a therapeutic tool, and now as a profession. And to do it with other like-minded people, musicians in the form of guitarists, is just icing on the cake. For me, it's a great way to spend time, and not just on a rainy day. Getting a group of people together to create beauty through the performance of guitar is something very special. This is what happens whenever there is an impromptu jam session at someone's house or even at a band practice. This can happen at large festivals, benefit concerts, and just plain old regular concerts as well. You never know what can come of someone picking up the guitar, strumming some chords, and other people playing off of them in an improvisational style. Friendships are born, beauty is created, magic is created, and these are all great things the world needs more of. You tap into a slice of heaven where time, space, and place do not exist, but only the present moment. It's always the present moment throughout life, as that's all we really have at any given time, but it's easier to get there mentally through live music. September 12th. Sometimes when I can't communicate that I'm frustrated, I'll just grab my guitar and I can play out that emotion and be able to cope with whatever's going on. So even being able to, like I said, share this gift with so many other people, it's definitely very therapeutic. Helps me just to focus and to be able to kind of get out of those emotions that I'm having without reacting in such a way that's not acceptable in society. Carrie James Marshall. Well said, Carrie. To your point, picking up and playing the guitar is very constructive, positive, therapeutic, beneficial, and pleasing way to deal with emotions and whatever life throws our way. It's a lot better than the alternative, which could be be drinking, doing drugs, road rage, misplaced aggression, depression, anxiety, and negative self-talk. If we could all adopt some sort of therapeutic tool into our lives at a moment's notice, the world would be better off for it. There would be more peace and love. All it takes is a second to step away from the craziness and chaos surrounding us, or a second to hold our tongue instead of blurting out something in the heat of the moment. Having even a little bit of space to diffuse situations can be a superpower. Let us remember that we do have things like this at our disposal, namely music, and within music, the guitar. September 13th. I didn't go to guitar school, and I don't know how to play chords, but I can do it in my own way, and I think sometimes that will piss off some guitar players who sit around playing their stuff all day long, and then there are people who like that. Marilyn Manson. There is no one-size-fits-all as it pertains to learning how to play guitar. This can be transferred to any musical instrument as well as most endeavors in life. What it comes down to is an essential truth I believe Marilyn is speaking to. Not everyone learns the same way. One person might learn by looking at something visually and then copying it on their own. Another person might learn by listening to someone talk about it. Yet another person might learn by reading it in some form of written text. Some people get it right away, while others have to learn through a series of mistakes we know as trial and error. There are people in the world who have a natural God-given talent in an area, while others have to work really hard to acquire that skill or talent. You get the point. So let us not be jealous of the person next to us because the guitar might make sense to them quicker than it makes sense to us, or because they develop their own style, which is completely outside of the normal way of playing guitar. But what is normal anyway? What is normal for one person might be abnormal for another, and vice versa. In the end, stick with what makes sense to you and craft your own unique way of doing things. This is what will not only help you, but will help the rest of humanity at the same time. It's the originality and creativity that keeps the world moving forward in a positive direction. September 14th. I love the fact that I can go out there on stage with a guitar and sing a song that means something to somebody. Kenny Chesney. Yes, what's not to love about that? And the coolest thing about this quote is that a song might mean one thing to one person and a completely different thing to another person. Everyone's interpretation of the lyrics and musical melodies can and will be slightly different because the human ear and brain hears and comprehends the world around it in its own unique way. It's called perspective. And the same thing goes for what we all see with our eyes. I may see a shade of blue in the sky that you don't see, or you might hear the droning of an airplane that I can't hear. For music, the simplicity of going on stage with one guitar and singing a song is just beautiful. It's meeting music and everyone in the crowd at the same place, just you and your instrument. It's our voice for those in the crowd. Raw, real, authentic, connecting with something and everyone on a higher level. After all, this is what music does to some extent anyway. It brings us to a higher level through the performance of lyrics and or musical melodies. Something both human with the visceral realness of it and divine with the elusive ethereal element to it. All good things, my friends, all good things. September 15th. I like to play video games like Rock Band and Guitar Hero, Carmen Electra. Although this isn't like playing a real guitar with 6 strings in it, you do get the feeling of holding a guitar and keeping rhythm along to a pre-existing song. For that alone is a neat activity to do in your free time. It gives the music enthusiast a chance to jam and feel like they're part of the music-making experience while not actually playing real musical notes in an actual band. I can think of a lot of worse ways to pass time that are fun but not really constructive or inspiring. Something to consider with this is that if you're looking to get into actually playing the guitar, playing Guitar Hero or Rock Band could be an opportunity to open that door and get your feet wet, as they say. Who knows where this can lead, right? September 16th, my original interest and intentions in guitar playing are primarily created on the quality of tone, for instance, the way the instrument could be made to echo or simulate the human voice. Eric Clapton. This is a really neat way of thinking about playing the guitar. I would venture to say that this might be a big reason as to why Mr. Clapton will go down in history as one of the best guitarists of all time. It's because he thinks about playing the guitar in a very different way than other guitarists. And this is what makes the world go round, with not just guitar playing, but in general. The fact that everyone has their own unique perspective on life can truly benefit all of us. By looking at things differently, it allows us to be creative and innovative, figuring out ways of doing something more efficiently and effectively. Could this be where the talk box originated? At the very least, it could provide us with a sense of beauty, awe, and wonder through the appreciation of said creation. So Eric, keep on playing the guitar in the way it inspires you, as it's been inspiring us for a long time already, and I know you will continue to inspire us. September 17th. And this whole period of time of gradually working at being a better guitar player and songwriter, I have gradually led me to the point where I feel like I'm doing a clear representation of the thing that I've been feeling inside me since I was 4 years old. John Frusciante. Growth. This is all about personal growth over a long period of time, leading you back to where it all started. If you go in with the intention of becoming a better version of yourself every day, then you will inevitably take the necessary steps and create good, positive habits for yourself to achieve that. For guitarists, this can mean practicing your scales, noodling around the instrument to uncover an inverted chord that leads to an interesting progression, or finding a more efficient and effective way of playing solos, riffs, and chords. What's neat about this particular quote is that he is bringing it back to when he was a little kid, when life was simpler, when all you did was play and have fun. Music is supposed to be fun. If it isn't a little bit of fun, you don't have any enjoyment at all with it, then why do it? And the amazing thing is that you don't really have to go anywhere. You don't have to travel around the world, although it's nice to go on an adventure. It's inside you the whole time, and all you have to do is find a way to let it out. Heck, it's begging to come out. We have to be open to allowing it to rise to the surface and let it do its magic. September 18th. I taught myself how to play the guitar. I taught myself how to play the drums, and I kind of fake doing both of them. But drumming comes more natural to me, and it just feels better. Dave Grohl. The old fake it till you make it adage is in full effect here, and coming from arguably one of the coolest, most fun, prolific rock and roll is really saying something. You don't always have to have everything figured out and done by the book. If you have a passion, natural gift, and enough time for something, you will find a way to pursue it. This doesn't just have to be for playing guitar and or performing music, but anything that lights a fire under you or inspires you throughout life. I know what Dave is speaking to as far as teaching yourself how to play an instrument goes. I've done this for every instrument I play, and I have all intentions of continuing down that path with any other instruments that grab my attention. There's something about learning it on your own and teaching yourself how to figure it out. For one, you create your own way of playing and develop a style unlike anyone else. Of course, this is very beneficial for anything in the arts, especially music, because you don't want to sound like anyone else. You want to be able to stand out and make your presence known. For Dave, the Foo Fighters and Nirvana don't sound like anyone else. Any other project he's been in, like Queens of the Stone Age, them Crooked Vultures, and Tenacious D, are one-of-a-kind artists as well. The thread that continues throughout is that Dave plays drums and or guitar in all of these groups. By teaching yourself something, you give yourself many opportunities to practice patience, perseverance, compassion, and self-love, which are great attributes to have, not just for oneself, but for everyone else we meet. You also give yourself the freedom to try things out and the permission to fail, which most teachers don't allow you to do. They want you to get it right as quickly as possible. Sometimes can drive people mad in the process. Be gentle with yourself. The mastery will come over time. And if you're wise enough, you'll discover that you'll never truly become a master, because there is always something new to learn. Always be a student eager to learn, and you never know where that mindset will take you. September 19th. There is no leader of this band, and there never will be. That's the key. You can't control how the public perceives you. People see rock and roll bands as the guitar player and the singer. Shannon Hoon. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that you can't only not control how other people perceive you, but you cannot control other people's behaviors. In fact, there are a lot of things out of our control in this life. We don't have control over the weather. We don't have control over traffic. We don't have control over someone taking too long at the bank, and on and on and on. What we do have in our control is how we react to situations. An example, our behavior. The fact that Shannon openly admits that there is no leader of the band and never will be is an act of selfless humility. Most lead singers and guitarists happen to be the main songwriter of the songs a band performs. They are often seen as the leader in the face of the band, and with being the leader comes a lot of responsibility. However, by deflecting the idea of him being the leader, it spreads the responsibility around to other members and also lets them and the public know that the way this band operates is a very team-oriented, democratic way. It's not a my way or the highway kind of mentality where one person runs the show and everyone else has to follow the line. Everyone gets credit when the wealth of responsibility is spread around. The same goes when things go wrong. It's not all dependent on one person. By acknowledging the absence of a leader in group does not mean there are no leaders within that group, though. It gives everyone an opportunity to step up and be their best selves, inspiring one another along the way. In doing so, everyone in the group embodies characteristics of a leader and pushes the entire thing forward in a positive direction. Hopefully, the perception of bands changes, because it's not just about one person. If it was about one person, then that would be a solo project, not a band. Everyone plays a part to make the whole thing sound and be the best it can be. September 20th. My mother is a singer. My sisters all sing. My uncles are incredible singers and guitar players, so it's just kind of been like my habit. Bruno Mars. You're a product of your environment. This statement we've all heard speaks directly to this quote by Bruno. If he was around musicians all the time at home, it doesn't surprise me that he chose to pursue music as his career, and that he is really good at it too. It's in his blood. Even though this might not be entirely true of being in your DNA, let's say, there's something to it. Being in this environment, it most certainly pushed him to be his best self. I'm sure he wanted to jam with his mom, sisters, and uncles and be a part of the group. Actually, I can't think of a better way to spend time making music with your family. Of course, this isn't always the case for everyone on planet Earth. Not everyone follows in their father's footsteps. There are people who want to be the complete opposite of their father, mother, or family members. Maybe it's because of a traumatic experience or repeated negative experiences at home that causes the person to want to get away and create an entirely new way of living for themselves. The beautiful thing is that both are inherently good because you're doing your darndest to create goodness either way. The first way creates goodness by becoming your best self in order to make music with family. The second way creates goodness by becoming a better version of yourself to escape the confines of your home situation. With whatever you do, let us always choose to create goodness. September 21st. I just couldn't take school seriously. I had this guitar neck with 4 frets, which I kept hidden under the desk. It had strings on it, so I would practice my chord shapes under the desk, and that's all about I did at school. Alvin Lee. What an interesting way to use your time. Now, I wouldn't recommend playing guitar during class unless it was a music class for a few reasons. It would be quite disruptive to the teacher teaching and all the other students trying to learn. 2, it would be rude to not be paying attention to what the teacher's teaching. 3, it would be difficult to truly focus on guitar what the teacher is teaching if you are distracted, torn between playing and listening or learning. In short, during class is not the right time or place to play. I like the idea of practicing anywhere you're able to. It shows dedication, discipline, persistence, commitment, and passion. In the end, it's all about choosing the right time and venue for it. September 22nd. I'm not that fluid when it comes to scales and modes. I just pick up the guitar and play. It's all about exploration. Just tune the guitar any way you want and start playing. Alex Lifeson. At the end of the day, this is what we ought to be doing in most things in life, especially guitar and music in general. We must not forget that we call it playing the guitar or playing music. This is no mistake, because in order to have fun or enjoy anything in life, playing is the way to do it. We do this with our children and turn everything into a game that is meant to be played, not a chore that has to get done. When we use the word play to describe something, it automatically turns whatever we are talking about or doing into something fun and enjoyable, even cleaning or doing homework. Sometimes the best things created musically and in general are discovered by accident, not thinking about the theory or technical aspects of how something ought to be done or used. Just dive right into it. Throw caution to the wind. Go on an adventure without preconceived notions or a bias towards what is right and wrong. Be in the moment and fully engage with the thing you were doing. This is where real creativity and genius lives, when we are able to play and curiosity mode. September 23rd. I've always loved the electric guitar. To hold it and work it and hear what it does is unreal. David Lynch. I agree, David. I've always loved the electric guitar as well. I have always loved the acoustic guitar too, so just loving guitars in general for me. But I digress. There is power in holding an electric guitar. Knowing that once you plug it into an amplifier or electrified source, it can really make its presence known, vibrating the room you're in and even the house. Now that's power. Plus it's heavy to hold. We as human beings associate something that weighs a lot to be powerful. And for the most part, we're not wrong in thinking this way. Take a car, take an airplane, take a tree. The list goes on and on. Never mind the fact that once it's plugged in, you can run all different kinds of effects through it, make it squeal, play harmonics, create feedback, and overall just be loud. It's quite versatile and has this uncanny ability to draw people in when you see and or hear someone playing it. There's a magnetic pull with this incredible string instrument. So keep on holding it and working it. You never know who's listening, whom you might inspire, and what kind of sounds you can create with it. It's fun to think of all the possibilities. September 24th, the bass player has to think and play like a bass player. A drummer has to play and think like a drummer and stay out of the way of the vocalist. The guitar player has to respect everybody else. Hunter Hayes. I never quite heard it put this way, but I like it nonetheless. To me, this speaks to a few different points. One, everyone plays their part in a band. It's not just about one person. This inherently expresses humility and knowing one's place in order to do what's best for every song at all times. As a result, you do what's best for the band as a whole, removing ego and keeping the peace, enabling the band to succeed for years and years. 2, on a more practical and technical level, this speaks to the idea of spatial awareness and listening. If the guitar player is not fully aware of his surroundings, an example, the drummer playing the beat, the bassist working in tandem with the drummer to bring out the low end, he might go off and do his own thing, which may not make sense at all to what's really happening on stage during a song. When we truly listen, we're able to take the information given to us during a conversation and translate it into something positive, beneficial, and moving forward for the people we are conversing with and ourselves. A new idea might spark from this pure listening, and even a slice of good advice / life wisdom could come from it. The spatial awareness aspect of being aware of your surroundings helps us in the moment and for the rest of our lives, because we need to know what is going on around us at all times. We avoid accidents this way. We're able to make important decisions in the moment without hesitation. And we do what's best for ourselves, our teammates, close loved ones, and even perfect strangers. So pay attention at all times and listen to what each person in the world is trying to communicate to us. It could very well be the exact thing we need to hear or witness in order for us to save or improve our own lives. September 25th. In the past, I tried to be more of a typical session guitarist. I wasn't so concerned with impressing anybody. Brad Paisley.
Whether you are a session guitarist or not, the mentality ought to be not impressing anybody. What works best is to do what each song calls for. In doing so, you won't be worrying about impressing anybody, but rather focusing all of your energy, focus, and time on making the present song the best it can be. Questions like what melodic musical section works best in the chorus? Does this song even need a solo? Does the guitar need reverb? Start to come to mind. This is way better than, I wonder what so-and-so will think of this guitar solo after I play it. Or take that, insert any famous guitarist here. The former is removing your ego from the equation, not concerning yourself with external validation, and ultimately doing its best for the task, artist, band, song at hand. By asking yourself these questions, the answers in the form of your musicality through guitar playing will be 100% a collaborative team effort. The latter is all about inflating your own ego, strutting your stuff, focusing entirely on external validation and not about the song at hand, which are all selfish, isolating, and non-inclusive. I'd much rather live in the former camp than the latter camp. September 26th. I am classic rock revisited. I revisited every waking moment of my life because it has the spirit and the attitude and the fire and the middle finger. I am Rosa Parks with a Gibson guitar. Ted Nugent. Bold statements. Number one, to say you are a classic rock revisited is a bit ego-oriented. I mean, he's literally saying that he sees himself as the physical embodiment of an entire genre of music. In doing so, he is discarding every other artist, band, songwriter, human being who has come before, is current now, will come in the future for this type of music. Two, to say you are Rosa Parks with a Gibson guitar is arguably worse than the first statement. Why? Because Rosa Parks was an African-American woman. Ted, you are a white man, so to liken yourself to someone of the opposite sex and color is an interesting choice and could be seen as racist or sexist, who is being discriminated against through racism. Ted, you are not being discriminated against in any way, and especially not through racism. I get where you're coming with this as far as the idea behind the statement. Rosa Parks was essentially standing up for something bigger than her and proverbially giving the middle finger to the man, but I don't think she would have actually given the middle finger to anyone. Classic rock music through the electric guitar does have a certain spirit, energy, and attitude to it. It's veering away from what the status quo was at the time when electrified music was more of a clean-sounding guitars and lyrics. Classic rock turned up the distortion and started talking about more poignant and real topics, making its presence known in a way that music hadn't really done before. September 27th. I'm an intuitive musician. I have no real technical skills. I can only play 6 chords on the guitar. Patti Smith. There's nothing wrong with being an intuitive musician. Some musicians have made an entire career out of doing just that. They're called improvisers. The Beatles and Johnny Cash come to mind as 2 artists who didn't know how to read music in the technical sense, bass and treble clef, yet were wildly creative, innovative, and prolific. It have helped them out more not knowing technical theory, because that might have held them back. By knowing theory, it could have them questioning if certain chord progressions or chords can go where they would like to put them in a song. By not knowing theory, you just go with what sounds right to you and not if it's technically right by the theory books. A great thing about improvising is that it opens you up to creating music with a lot of different people, because you're more open to being flexible, adaptable, and going with the flow in a session if the band decides to change the key, play the song faster, or change the course of the song entirely. People want to be around someone who's willing to adapt instead of being rigid in their thoughts and therefore actions. So Patty, go on with your bad self and play those 6 chords in different ways. You really don't need more than that to create good songs. In fact, you can get by knowing even less chords than that. C, A minor, F, and G can go a long way.